Greetings, people of Earth. Welcome back. I am 28 years old, and as a gay man, there is an incredible amount of pressure to look young, be young, act young, um, be spiritful, and, have this impression of gorgeous, flawless attitude. And I think any woman or person of color will understand this as well because we face not the same, but similar struggles with depictions of youth and looking young. And today I want to answer the question, why are gay men obsessed with being young, with the look, with that airy, sort of happy-go-lucky personality, and why is there so much pressure to stay 22 forever? Because first of all, it's unrealistic. Nobody stays 22 forever unless a tragedy happens, and that's not ideal. But a huge amount of the people that follow me and the people that watch my TikToks and Instagram and everything like that are constantly obsessed with this idea of looking young. And I think there's several reasons for this. I think, we have this inflated sense of our appearance is the only thing that gives us value in society, partly because of the media depictions of gay romance. Like, I don't know about you, but I've never watched a movie or something that centers around two older gay men or two gay figures past 50. It's always young coming of age stories. It's always very beautiful people in their 20s who are struggling with their sexuality and trying to find love, and they're never going to find it. But at the end of the day, these people are gorgeous. These people are always super attractive. And I think it's obviously a huge bias, but it doesn't fully explain why exactly we're so obsessed with it. And I think the internet in general is very obsessed with, young motivations, young people, attractive people, good clothes, good style, good hairlines, all of this stuff. But it's really frustrating that for whatever reason, our community seems to be so impacted by age and getting older and, getting those rings under your eyes, getting some wrinkles, your teeth not being as white as they possibly can, your hair starting to look a little bit, musty, dusty, receding back, all of these things. And as someone who has done social media for quite a while now, I can tell you that the number one kind of comment on any of my stuff is either, oh my gosh, you look so good, your teeth are great, like blah, blah, blah. It's all very appearance based. And if it's not that kind of positive appearance based stuff, it's always, oh, he'll be bald by 30. Oh, he's looking a little bit rough. Oh, looks like you didn't get enough sleep. Oh, I can see wrinkles. Is that a gray hair? And we know that there's obviously like quite an obsession with our bodies in terms of looking super attractive and being muscular and being lean. But I think that's all a factor into this idea of being young and beautiful. And I think a lot of gay men are really terrified to turn 30. Like, they're really scared to get older. And a huge amount of the content you see on the internet relating to gay culture is to do with eating right, making sure you're doing your skincare, making sure you whiten your teeth, making sure you do this, that, and the other. And I can't lie, I'm very much a product of all of that. I have very much taken all of that under advice, and I work it into my daily routine, partly because I enjoy it, but that also brings up the question, why do I enjoy it? Do I enjoy it specifically because I want to look 25 for the rest of my life? I don't know. Maybe that is a huge factor in why this has become such a big personality trait of mine. Maybe my enjoyment of it is specifically because I want to look young and beautiful for as long as possible. Even though I know I'm gonna get old, my hair is gonna fall out, my teeth are gonna start looking a little rough, my skin is not gonna do the thing that I want it to this entire time. And so we come back to this idea of age, and there's this perception online that older gay men are promiscuous and they overstep boundaries and all of these things, which are really not true. You know, the men that I'm fortunate enough to interact with are incredibly caring, incredibly intelligent. They see me for, you know, my thoughts and my ideas, and I see them for the same. And while I think we've all had run-ins with men at any age who overstep their boundaries, to have this stereotype that older gay men are somehow inferior is an incredible leap and an incredible fallacy. And it's also very self-destructive because, as I've said many times over, you will be very fortunate if you get to see 50, if you get to see 80, if you get to see 90. That is something to be celebrated. That is something to venerate. You know, the survival of someone through life, which is inherently difficult. It is inherently a struggle. It is inherently something that is hard to do. A lot of us don't make it to 30. A lot of us don't make it to 90. And there are obvious reasons for that. There are some reasons that you can't control. There are some reasons that, you know, you can have a bit of influence on, but at the end of the day, when you go, you go. So creating this stigma within the community about age has also had the effect that we're all terrified to get older. We're all terrified to celebrate our 30th birthday, and, you know, the idea of twink death, and these kinds of concepts are super destructive, not only to the community as a whole and how we interact with people at different generations, but also to ourselves and how we view ourselves and our self-worth. And I think if you really want to talk about the causes of why we're so scared to get older, a huge factor is that we know that the perception exists and we know that this is going to happen, and it just further perpetuates in this vicious cycle of, oh, I'm looking a bit rough, like I need to have some plastic surgery, I need to have some Botox in the forehead for those little wrinkles that appear. You know, like, that's human aging. That's a human face. And this fear essentially comes from how much we have been objectified by our fellow community members. When you look at a really attractive dude in his 20s and you make a comment about, oh my gosh, he's so attractive, I bet he gets all the guys, like blah blah blah, you kind of just further perpetuate this obsession with looks and charisma and all of these kinds of things. And you might think, oh, I'm leaving a good, nice comment that will make someone's day better. But at the same time, you're kind of perpetuating this looks-based thing. And there's a lot less interest taken in somebody's ideas and what they think and how they interact and whether they're a good human being. All of that stuff is very much secondary or even tertiary to your looks and what you do with those looks. And I mean, like, I'm somebody speaking of this really frankly. I don't think many gay men would speak about this, especially on YouTube and places like this, because at the end of the day, why are you consuming the content that you're consuming? Why are you watching the content you're watching? Are you watching it because the person is really insightful, or are they some eye candy? And don't get me wrong, like, I'm as guilty as anybody, if not more, for sort of presenting it that way. You know, like, I present myself in a very specific way. I have a little ring light that hopefully lights up my face in an advantageous way. I am fairly meticulous with how I present myself. And at the end of the day, does a video succeed because the ideas make you think and the content is genuinely compelling? Like, am I someone that you'd put on in the background? Or is the appearance one of the draws? And I know the answer, and I'm not trying to shame anybody for watching my videos or for engaging in that kind of thing. But I'm also asking to be a little more critical about the content you consume and what you're taking away from the content. Because I think a lot of the age-related discrimination in the gay community is based on false assumptions, on stereotypes, on painting people in a certain corner, and at the end of the day, not being attracted to people based on a very physical characteristic, you know? And I think there are big groups of people in the world who face the same kind of discrimination. Many of them face it far worse than we do in the gay community, but some of them face it, you know, comparably. So at the end of the day, why are gay men terrified to age? It's because aging is seen as a negative thing in our community, and it's seen as this destructive, unstoppable force that ruins your prospects of finding a partner, prospects of, you know, having some fun. And unfortunately, many of those things aren't the case. There are lots of guys in beautiful relationships. There are lots of guys, you know, finding people to hang out with for a night. It really isn't an impediment, but we tend to place this youthful attitude and physical appearance at the highest pinnacle possible. And it's a real shame, because we're essentially perpetuating a community that will eventually discriminate against us, which is a shame, because we face discrimination from day one. You know, you come out of that closet and you will have people asking you what goes on in the bedroom. You will have people asking you all kinds of very intrusive questions and judging you for any little thing. You wear the wrong outfit after Labor Day and suddenly, you know, you are very gauche and it's not something that should be repeated. And oh my God, did you hear what Brad decided to wear to the dance? It's just this toxic cycle. And I don't know, I obviously don't have all the answers, but this idea that we validate each other just based on our looks is really superficial, and I don't think it's entirely accurate, obviously, and unfortunately there are some very clear signs that that is the case in some ways, but it does not have to be like this. And I would love to get to a point where aging is celebrated and you can encourage other people that no, it's not, there is life after 30. There is life after getting older, because thankfully I'm someone who really isn't worried about getting older. I don't have this constant dread or concern that, oh my gosh, like it's gonna be the worst. And maybe that's circumstantial, and maybe I'm not recognizing some kind of inherent privilege that I have, but I just feel like respecting and being supportive to everybody, no matter the age, is probably the best way forward. An interesting video. It brings up some interesting ideas. I know I'm probably blind to some of the bigger concerns that some of you might have. I would love to be told them in a constructive way. Like, clearly this is a huge topic. It's very divisive, it's very emotional, but I do think it can be talked about in a constructive and helpful way. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a beautiful day, week, month, year, millennium, decade, 3 decades, whatever you're having. I hope it's amazing. And as always, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.